Okay, so today is a big day for me. It was rainy and I couldn't bring the camera out. So I did the concrete that I'm standing on right now. I'm currently cleaning those since having it dirty before you put track down. It's gonna get dirty, but might as well have it clean when I put track down. So I put the concrete down, meaning the pads, leveling the ground, putting the pads down. And if you notice, when you look at the pads, you'll see pieces of wood in them. So that's the design that I'm taking. I'm not going to drill concrete bolts or screws into the concrete and have a big screw sitting there with the blue top sticking up or the flat top sticking up. So I have the wood, and as I go through, I'm going to put wood when it's a curve every 3 bricks, when it's straight every 4 bricks, and then that's the way I'm going to continue around. When I get to the other side, maybe I'll do something different, but for now, that's what I'm doing. This is my platform plan, and that's what we're doing right now. That corner is right where we're at. So we have all the stuff down right here next to me. So now I'm going to actually, for the first time ever, install track that is permanent, which is a big thing for me. You can see the track out there. I've organized what I need, and that's kind of where I need to be. So here we go. Have my long pants on so my knees don't get dirty from the dirt. I have my level already. I've already checked all this. This is all still level. Amazingly, after all the rain we've had, it's still level. So we start. I do have to put dividers in. This first track is going to have a 101, 101.5, which is a separator, because I want the space from these 2 tracks, because this is the main track. It's going to be right on the edge. So I'm going to put that right on the edge. Make sure I have a screw hole for this to go in. It'll be right there. This has been a 3-year process. Getting everything together, getting the tracks together, getting the pieces together, getting it all set up. And yeah, it's a little exciting for me. A little exciting that it's actually going to happen. We're actually going to start putting this together. Now, of course, I'm already messing up. This goes into my switching system. So, this is the main track. This is a storage track. Main track, storage track, secondary track. So that between the main track and the storage track, I'm going to put spacers. Little pieces of plastic that will fill the gap and make it so the signal does not travel. My switching system, is that put in there? My switching system will allow me to change from one to another. Of course, I'm using Bachmann on some of the curves just because I have so many switchers and they're so expensive. I got some Bachmann. I can always switch out the same exact size. I can always switch them out later for a more quality piece. Because in my opinion, Bachmann is not quality. Matter of fact, I have no Bachmann engines. I will not purchase a Bachmann engine. Every Bachmann engine I purchased for my holiday train has died. My opinion is what my opinion is. And that's the thing about the US. I can have my opinion and I can keep my opinion and I'm happy with it. I do have one Bachmann car. It became a Halloween car. When it died, it got redesigned, burnt, melted, and became a Halloween car for my Halloween train. I should have known when I decided I was going to use some Bachmann stuff. I was going to have issues. Issues with something. Why are they using Allen screws on these? Everything else is Phillips. This is a little Allen screw. And since I have to separate it, I have to take it off. Bye-bye. We'll use you someplace else. You will go in my pocket for a future use. Okay, that's where that goes. So yeah, so I'm putting these on to separate the track from the other track. There's a centerpiece. This end over there, that way, is going to have a double shed to put two engines in. This way is going to have a workhouse at the end of the track. Maybe the lumberyard will be in that spot. I don't know as of yet. But I'm getting close. So it's a great day today. It's supposed to be 50 or 70 as a high. In South Florida, it is going to be in the 80s again. That's why I like being where I'm at. I don't have that weather. which makes it easy. Trying to follow the diagram that I have so I can stay as clear to what I've designed as I can be. What I've noticed is a lot of the Bachmann stuff, even though it is set up to be the same and it's compatible, little things are different, such as the wood where it's placed. Hey, it doesn't look as realistic, you can tell the difference. But the wood where it's placed, this is usually a space here. It's not on this side. And it's thin. It's not on this side. So the wood sticks out far enough that it actually hits the bracket from the wood next to it. That's a little annoying. So that is going to come off. This is my medium track. So I have the outside track, which is all going to be large curves. I have the storage track, which is also going to be large curves, so I can store outside trains on this track. This is where I go to my 12 as far as track curves go. And then I'm going into where I'm going to my 11. That way I can put smaller trains and I can go up my hill I'm going to have in the middle, right behind me. These bricks are going to be filled up equal and then go up from there to different levels. That's why I'm not worried about the bricks being above ground. So now I just have to line all these up so they're straight. And I will have my setup. So I think those are all the curves, all the switches I need. One switcher to get from A to B, another switcher to get from B to C, another switcher to get from C to D. Seems like I'm missing something. A to B is here. B to C is here. That gives me 3 tracks. Then C to D is here. And this is going to be my loop around track, where you can run right through and get back. So this is my storage track from either side. Storage from this way comes this way. Storage from this way comes this way. So that needs to have a separation as well. I am going to sit down and make a lot of fast forwards, saving all those pieces I'm taking off so I can bend them back and use them on other tracks that might not have ends. I bought a lot of used track, and I think the used track was put in with clamps, so it doesn't have as many ends on it as I would like. More separators to separate this track. I didn't just do that, did I? I did just do that. Yep. Took off the wrong one. I hate it when I make mistakes like that. Okay. So, yes, I'm going to use some of the clamps on the track. But the good thing is, I actually do own a battery operated welder. So when I get all this put in and everything's just the way it's supposed to be, I'm going to be going through and using a welder to weld things in place. That way I don't have anything moving as far as connections go and I end up with a weak spot. But I'm not going to weld it now. I shouldn't say weld, I should say solder. I use the terms back and forth because it all puts things together. But no, I'm not going to use a arc welder on my track. That's copper. Brass. I am going to be using a soldering iron and solder, and I'll weld all my connections straight that way. That way any connections that might come off won't. And I'll have a lot of this track when I start getting out of here and going into the yard will be clamped together, because I'll be dealing with possibly running over it with my digger, my excavator, or my lawnmower. So I'm going to be clamping those together and supporting the track. Probably pouring a little bit of concrete some places. That way I have a flat spot. So good. That goes from there, that goes from there. That goes from there. So that bends over. That goes straight. That goes straight. And that goes straight. Okay, so I'm seeing an issue. Putting this here, my separator, that I really wanted to separate these two tracks, causes an issue because I can't get my 3 tracks on my pavers that I have here. So I'm going to be, which I didn't want to do, but I also don't want to have to lay a whole bunch of pavers around for my 3 trains. I only want to be able to have to lay 2. I don't want to have to lay 3. Oh, crap. Kind of hate the fact I got to bend these damn things off, but they're there to stay, even though they can't stay right now. I'll put my plastics back together. Okay. These go here. Another set of separators, actually known as isolators. I do use the wrong terms at times. I think of them as different than what they are. Took that off. There we go. One thing I am going to do today is we are going to run some wire down the wire run and put the ends on both ends and put the wire in place. Now the idea is it's going to be right on the edge. This should line up to it. The goal is to have all the tracks set up so there's no spaces anywhere. This is going to line up into here. Missing an isolator. Where did you go? You were there a minute ago. You must have fallen off. That's why I have spares. There is a good separation just because these are 1600 curves on the first track. So that will give you a good separation just because it's there. And let's take a track piece and see how we run up. That is coming very close. I have more room on that side. So I'm going to be replacing, taking off this switch and putting the switch on the opposite side of the track. Because currently it's on the outside, which I don't need it. And I have two pieces of track running close. I'm putting it on the inside. That way, I don't need the separation. I should have enough to run this train right next to it. Before yes, Bachmann, tight, annoying, but also cheaper. Finally. Okay, yes, that fits. So I'm putting my switcher on this side of the track. Now, before I put the bricks down, I actually do take all the track and put it on the table, set it up where it goes, measure the distances, then I figure out the spaces I need for the bricks after measuring the distances. That makes sure that I have enough brick. So when I actually go to install this thing, I actually have enough space. So I'm pretty sure it was going to fit, but when I did the measurement, I didn't have my switcher hooked up. There. Now I have my 3 tracks on my 2 bricks for this little run until they start moving off. So this one is going to get a direct curve right away. This is my 11 track. So put my 11 down. I call it 11 track because LGB calls it the 1100. Next one over is my 15. I think I called it 12. My 15 track. Next one over is my 16. The 15 track is just a little bit different than the 16 track. Just a hair. But there is a difference. They don't line up exactly the same. There's a design that the 15 can go right inside the 16. If you want two trains running next to each other, you can put one right inside the other. So that's the 15. Then the next track over is going to be the 16. And they're going to be real close to each other. So that should be real close, which is the goal. To get those two close. And as soon as I get all this train track set up at this end where it belongs and where it needs to be, then I'm going to screw it down to my wood brackets. And that's going to keep it right there. And I won't have to come back and keep resetting it every time I change something. One thing I do have that I have to get out of my shed, which I'll get in a second, is my massive level. Massive level. That way I can check to make sure I don't have anything that can't be taken by Mr. Train coming around. There we go. That is why I have to bolt it down, because they want to move, especially when you don't have solid and everything. You have a lot of the separators here. That's why these are 3 brackets apart. I can put a screw at both ends, push it together, and now that separation set stays. Okay. You are getting this, because that is a big storage tunnel in the middle. This is massive level that I told you about. It almost doesn't fit the whole thing in the screen. It does 2 things. It gives me a really good straight edge where I can line up to make sure all my pieces of track are actually straight. Because I want them to be straight before I bolt them down. Now, why am I paying so much attention to everything being perfectly straight? Will the train run on it if it's off? Yes. Will the train work without a problem? More than likely, yes. If it doesn't, will I be able to fix it? More than likely, yes. Here's the issue with it being straight. If it's not perfectly straight, every little difference, by the time you get to the other end, all those differences add up, going all the way around the circle, and when it comes back, it's not going to match. And if you're going to do it, as I've said before, why do it wrong when you can do it right? There you go. First screw, first track ever on Scamp Station that is actually attached. Not a big deal for you. It's a hell of a big deal for me. I've waited a very long time because I know it's not a big deal for most. It's a big deal for me. So I'm going to say it one last time. Big deal for me. So let's see. I have my two pieces down. They're hooked in. That doesn't look like it's going to move. Then I go to my next one. Tighten that one down. Gotta make sure that's straight. I do have these nice lines because of the bricks, so I can space things on the lines. Now, one thing you'll notice, this is a 16 curve with a 16 curve switcher. You can see the space. 2 tracks barely fit on my 1 foot of brick. Over here, I don't have a 16 switcher, I have an 11 switcher. At this point, 1 track is almost 1.5 inches, 2 inches over, and I still can fit 2 tracks on. The switcher adds a lot of space between. So when you decide which switches you're going to use, you can make sure, A, what trains you have. I have 16 switchers because I have some massively long trains. The engine themselves, not the cars, but the actual engine. And in order to get it to go to my storage rack, I need to make sure I can go from track A to B, maybe not C and D, but I can go from track A to B without an issue. So I have to keep everything on those 2 tracks, 16-inch switchers. When I get to the end down there where the big switching is taking place, I'll have 3 switchers hooked together so I can do my single track loop going out and around to the front of the house. There's a couple short videos I've done, I think they're under shorts, that explain the switching system used to get that to happen, if you are interested. Put these together, put these together, put this together. Looks like I'm going right down the center, just like I'm supposed to. So we'll hook the second track. Get the second track hooked down. Now when I get all the track hooked down, I will be taping the actual track through here, which is putting tape on the actual track, the actual brass, putting a little space here with brass, with tape over the brass, taping the switches, and I'll be spraying and pouring an adhesive. And then I have my track material to make my track bed that I'm going to be pouring on top with the adhesive so it fills the gaps. And that's when this is going to look. You're not going to see the wood anymore. It doesn't exist. You don't see the bricks anymore. It becomes solid. That's the plan. As we all know, sometimes plans have to change. But for now, that's the plan. Screws I'm using. I'm using drywall type screws. Why am I using drywall type screws? I found out all the different screws, with the drywall screws being tapered at the top, it allows me to put the track in, and I can tighten the screw, and the plastic actually bends a little bit and allows that screw to become flat. So when I put my coating and everything on, you're not going to really notice there's a screw there. That's why I got drywall screws. And the other thing is, they're really hell of easy to put in. Good thing is after I'm putting this in together and it's all leveling off, I actually end up with more space at this end than I had originally, which is good. I like more space. Separate the two tracks. More space is good. This is where when the soldering comes in handy. When I get all this in and everything is down and I have a loop, I can come back to these points, solder this track together before I put my track bed in, and it will allow everything to be good. I did experiment with the rubber, putting the rubber underneath this. The rubber gives me a look that's kind of cool. Problem with the rubber that I didn't like is it gives me a different sound. I like the sound of the track on the concrete. So because I didn't like the sound, I didn't use the rubber track bed here. I might use it other places because I have like 4 boxes of the stuff that I purchased. It seems to be a problem. I have an idea, I go purchase, and then I build. I always end up with extra stuff. Probably should stop doing that. My straight edge. So my straight edge right here. Make sure I'm straight. When I get straight, I'll hook it down right now. Then we'll test to make sure I'm level. So I should be level 2. This is big, great size. You can just actually lay it right on the track. I don't know if you can see it from there. I'm dead level. Let's try this one. This is going up a little bit. I want it to go up a little bit because I'm going to have to go up to go around my curve. So that's great. Haven't done this one yet, but let's try it and see. This one's also dead level. So far, everything's working out just like it should. Check to make sure this is straight. Go right under my switch and verify that I have a straight edge. Goes all the way into here. So I want to have that straight edge. There we go, straight edge. So hook that down. Before I hook that one down, let's put on my last track. This one's only going to exist here. As far as you can see, it loops off in both directions. Right away almost. So that's my last track, and that's this track. So this one's not hooked at the end. This one is. So this one is going to be hooked down. These are pressure treated pieces of wood. You do not want to take a chance. You do not want to use non-pressure treated pieces of wood. I'm going to put a second screw here because that one didn't really catch. Because I'm going from 16 to 15 to 12 and I have switches, and there's not going to be a straight line. I'm expecting that. So if there isn't, I'm making my own hole. And like I said, these screws go right in and hold it tight, which is the goal. Let's be honest, we don't have an entire locomotive going by. We have a little model train. So when it comes down to it, I don't have a ton of weight trying to move everything with thousands of pounds. Just a little train. $15, $16, and $20. Yes, the last track out there, last piece, the big track, is going to have all 20 curves. It's going to make it a little bit hard to put everything in, but then again, you only put the tracks in once. You use it for years. Do it right the first time. You can move on to other things. You don't have to do it again and again and again, trying to get it right. I had somebody ask me when I showed him a picture of this original design. He says, "Were you going to run pipes to get the wires?" And I informed him you don't have to, because there's a space under every train. There's always a space. Not worried about wires. I'm going to run them as close to the ground as I can. That way, there was little problems as can be. In case you're wondering, I am not measuring side to side. I know my base is straight. I'm not measuring this way, because when I get the track down, I might have to pitch according to, because my goal is these center two tracks. I'm looking at high speed lines, so I have to have them pitched in such a way that they'll work and they will not tip my trains over. Because I do want a couple lines for high speed trains, just engines, couple cars, caboose, going much faster than they should go. I've always found that fun. Okay, it looks like everything is set. A couple more screws. And my first, the major switching section will be complete. Hi, little guy. I am using some new trains, new track. I'm using some old track, various different tracks. You know, I have a spot here where it's not down. So this brick must have fallen some. Bring that brick up. That's another reason why I'm going to put my track bed down. The track bed's going to fill all the gaps and make everything solid. And I'm not going to bounce, as long as I don't have to change something. Good thing about this is it's nice brass track. I hear the owl. I've counted the owls. I have 4 different owls in different parts. Love to find their nest. I did find my fox den under a whole damn tree. I'm waiting for the tree to fall over because he's dug out under the whole tree. So there you go. We have completed the first section of track, the major switcher. I have my 11 loop, my 15 loop, my 16 loop, and my 22 loop, which I haven't started going around. So this is how the track's going to be done. This is design of the track, how it's going to be put together, And now it's going to be done. You can see the wood in place. All my switchers, my concrete brick. Old brick I took out of somebody else's house. They didn't want it. Took it. It goes right down. That's my track. It continues around. Everybody else is going to curve. So actually, I can finish that curve too. 15, 16, and 20. Yes, the last track out there, last piece, the big track, is going to have all 20. Curves. Just gonna make it a little bit hard to put everything in, but then again, you only put the tracks in once. You use it for years. Do it right the first time. You can move on to other things. You don't have to do it again and again and again, trying to get it right. I had somebody ask me when I showed him a picture of this original design. He says, "Were you going to run pipes to get the wires?" And I informed him you don't have to, because there's a space under every train. There's always a space. Not worried about wires. I'm going to run them as close to the ground as I can. That way, there was little problems as can be. In case you're wondering, I am not measuring side to side. I know my base is straight. I'm not measuring this way. Because when I get the track down, I might have to pitch according to, because my goal is these center two tracks. I'm looking at high speed lines. So I have to have them pitched in such a way that they'll work and they will not tip my trains over. Because I do want a couple lines for high speed trains. Just engines, couple cars, caboose, going much faster than they should go. I've always found that fun. Okay, it looks like everything is set. A couple more screws. And the major switching section will be complete. Hi, little guy. I am using some new trains, new track. I'm using some old track, various different tracks. I know I have a spot here where it's not down, so this brick must have fallen some. Bring that brick up. That's another reason why I'm going to put my track bed down. The track bed's going to fill all the gaps and make everything solid. And I'm not going to bounce, as long as I don't have to change something. Good thing about this is it's nice brass track. I hear the owl. I've counted the owls. I have 4 different owls in different parts. Love to find their nest. I did find my fox den under a whole damn tree. I'm waiting for the tree to fall over because he's dug out under the whole tree. So there you go. We have completed the first section of track, the major switcher. I have my 11 loop, my 15 loop, my 16 loop, and my 22 loop, which I haven't started going around. So this is how the track's going to be done. This is design of the track, how it's going to be put together, and how it's going to be done. You can see the wood in place. All my switchers, my concrete brick. Old brick I took out of somebody else's house. They didn't want it. Took it. It goes right down. That's my track. It continues around. Everybody else is going to curve. So actually, I can finish that curve too. Because you know, this one's going to curve sharp. That is a sharp curve on this one. Now, this one's going to get another straight piece to continue down. I need a piece of wood right here. I don't have a piece of wood there yet. Move this over, I need to put a piece of wood. So let's get that wood in first. Since I have 3 curves here, I'm actually going to put the wood at 3. So, I gotta put a piece of wood right here. Let's take off that track. Let's take this one and move it over. Take my little tool, make sure that's straight. Move this one over. Move this one over. Got my piece of wood down, which I know I got to backfill. So I'm going to take a smaller piece of wood. Put some dirt down. Figure out my height that I need. Put some dirt over here. Backfill at that height. All the way across. You want to push dirt on the insides underneath to give it a nice flat underneath, and push the brick back. Clean. Push the brick back. Push it out. Compact underneath by pushing the dirt in. I would be doing this a different way if I wasn't going to put that track bed on top, filling all the gaps, sealing everything in. But since I'm doing that, I don't have to be as exact. Clear the gap, make sure there's nothing out from underneath. Push the brick back. There, piece of wood in. I'm also going to add a piece of wood right here because I'm going to be starting my big curve right there, and I want a solid spot. So I want a solid spot to hook to. There. Now, here's my pliers. That's very funny. Oh, that lines up. This one is out too far. That's what happens when you get used track. You have no idea what their plan was. And with used track, you save a lot of money, but you might have to do stuff to get the track to work. Like I bought a whole bunch of 23-foot curve artistic a track, and I get it. There's no clips, there's no ends, there's no screws. It's practically useless until I spend a ton of money and get clamps to put it in. It's kind of upsetting, but it was de-installed, so you get what you get. Can't guarantee anything when you're getting used track, except you're going to save a bundle of money. That one's in. This one has a big curve coming up. So you need a couple pieces here. A big piece and another big piece. And look at this. This piece has clamps on it. I'm not doing clamps yet. There we go. My next straight piece. And that's down. This is my curve. Ugh. Oh, we see this one use clamps. I don't need clamps on this one yet. This one's actually going to have a clamp because it's the end. That's where my big curve starts, I believe. Radius of the big curve is massive. Actually, that's two small pieces. I don't want that. I thought it was a big piece of the clamp. It isn't. It's two small pieces. I can use those clamps elsewhere. There we go, real piece of track. Perfect. Goes in, and I have my first 22 curve. There we go. There's the big curve that goes straight out. Lost my screwdriver for a minute. This is my service track. So I got to make sure my service track works. With the curves that it's getting. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm testing to make sure that those two tracks will not bump into each other. But I'm thinking, wait a minute. Doesn't tell me what the track is. Both curves are exactly the same. This one starts farther back. So what I need to do is move this out like that. So I just have to put a little extension on it to get it out to the same, and then I can loop it around without a problem. Question is finding just a little extension. All the pieces and all the parts. I got a couple of these just in case. So let's look at this. This is a piece of track made by LGB. It's a 1009, as in 1009/11. 9, and you turn this, and it becomes 11. So you can adjust your track, fine-tune different things by having a couple of these in places, and it allows you to fine-tune stuff. So if I was to put this here, I could actually move the track just a hair to get it really close to what I need it to be. So if I move it all the way out, put this in, I can look at the track and I can see that this is going to continue around, and about here it's going to hit each other. So I know that doesn't work for me. Once I figure out how much I need, let me get on the other side here. I'm going to figure out how much I need to move to get these to be straight. That is real close to being a full piece. It's actually damn real close to being a full piece. But it isn't. So get these to line up right, I need to be right there. So I take my little tool, always when this reverses, so you want to cut so that everything in there goes away. Make a mark. Got to get your square. Cannot cut track without a square. You're asking for nightmare. So I found this neat little thing. Works great for me to cut track. There it is. Do want to do that. Okay. So I've found my space I need, set my track next to it. I made a mark. Now I'm going to take my square, line that up to my mark, right on my track, and make a second mark. So now I have my square that I used to be able to go right across the track and give me a square. This little gizmo goes both ways. It goes forwards and it goes backwards. You always want to go backwards in this case, so all the stuff that it cuts spews away. So I can actually put this right on my little track bed I made. Okay, so the good thing of having multiple tools for multiple things is you always have another option. Not as fast, not as nice, but actually is much faster, just not as nice. I like the other one, it's nice. So we trimmed our track. Cut back our plastic. Everything is good. Now we get our end. I actually have ends in my pocket. I took it off. Take another end. Find an end. Put an end on. Opposite of the other end. And we're up and ready to go. Bend back together. Again, all this is going to be soldered together. Okay, let's put our spacer we just made. Get it right close. Put our new piece in. Get that right close. Now my trains will not bump into each other. So I just made a spacer so the curve is pure. This curve keeps going, this curve ends. There is some debate on if this one is going to continue on, and I won't even have to worry about that curve. But just in case it doesn't and it stops, we now have this in place. From that end, all the way to this end. The big picture. What have we actually completed today? And our big drawing, we've completed from here, because we're right at that curve, from here all the way out to here. There's a lot more to go. That's only half.